Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colynn.
And I'm Meredy Lockoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colynn. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meredy?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colynn here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go. All right, welcome everyone. You'll notice today for our podcast, Spiritual Sisters with Sass, that you only get one of the sisters, but that's okay because we have invited Katelyn here from Rooted in Harmony Yoga to come on and share a little bit about one of our passions that we share, which is mental health. So Katelyn's going to talk about her journey with yoga and mental health, and we're just going to see where the conversation goes. So thanks for joining us today, Katelyn.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. It's been such a vibe already and like a good break in the day for me. So I appreciate you letting me come on and having some conversations and vibes.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm based in Florida. I've been in Florida for a really long time, but my journey with fitness started probably in high school. I did like a lot of volleyball and track. And I think transitioning from more of like an athlete role to college when I went for my degree and then trying to balance education and still like a want to move my body, I struggled a lot with that. And college is like a big transition for a lot of people. So that's really when I noticed like a bigger struggle with my mental health. I always kind of had issues, right? Like as you grow up, people are mean, especially if you're a woman and you tend to develop earlier than other girls, like they can be pretty nasty. So I had some experiences like that had me have a lower self-worth and just struggled a little bit with connecting to people, myself, and movement. So when I transitioned into college, I didn't try out for any teams. I was good. I enjoyed volleyball. I enjoyed track, but I wasn't a star. And so I was like, well, if I'm not going to be able to play, then I'm not going to try out. I wanted to actually be active and not sit on the bench. So I think that was like one of the biggest things that started the mental pitfall for me was that aspect. Well, if I'm not going to play and they're going to sit me on the bench, then I'm not good enough. I shouldn't even try out. And so from there, my fitness and the relationship with it changed. I moved to more of like an elective style. So some of my classes at the college, I took essentially PE, did weightlifting or yoga, Pilates, like whatever they offered. And I got credits for it towards my degree. So I was like, well, why not? Two birds, I move myself and I get stuff done for college, like makes sense. And so through that, I developed a very strong relationship to the asana portion of yoga. And the movement felt good. It was nice to stretch and connect with my breath and my body in that way. But I didn't realize at the time, like the teacher from that was solely teaching the movement. They didn't tell me about all of the other limbs and the aspects of the practice. And so even though I connected with the movement of it, I found later on that, hey, there's a lot more here that you need to explore. And so that was in about 2019 when I started to explore the deeper aspects of it. And, that was right before COVID here in the States, and we really shut down. And so I feel like that roll into the lockdowns and having that type of isolation, like allowed me to have the time and the space to really dive into yoga and the mindfulness aspect of it. And through that, I was able to call myself out on some shit, honestly. Like I had started drinking every day and I was having a hard time communicating with my partner about it. I looked at myself in the mirror and picked myself completely apart. And it was all from younger and the experiences that I had and just not keeping the promises that I made to myself. And so being able to connect with people through YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, and just try different classes, different teachers in the industry, I fell in love. I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. Like, why don't all teachers talk about the different perspectives and the layers of yoga? Like, there's so much. And it's kind of like dumbfounding sometimes that every teacher you interact with like doesn't give you those layers. And that's wild to me. And I think it's cool. It's your business, your teacher, like however you want to run your business is up to you, right? That's why it's yours. But there's just so much to it that I think being able to connect with all pieces, not just the movement, and really find what clicks with you and hone in on that is really important. Like I know you talk a lot about anatomy and the science behind it. So like you found your piece that you love. And it's so important to be able to kind of preach that to people so they can learn about it. Cause I still find to this day, like a lot of people don't know that it's more than movement.
Yeah, when I started, so I found yoga let's just say I found it when I was 20. I
Mhm.
it was right after I had a baby and right when I started working in the healthcare field. And I found a video because I lived in northern British Columbia, so like the middle of nowhere. And I found a video and it was Rodney Yee. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so for 14 years, I was a yoga student and I took my teacher training, yeah, like in 2014.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I took teacher training to be better at yoga, which was, in my opinion, the asana.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was like, wait, what? What's all this woohoo kind of bullshit? And then I was like, but wait, because at the same time, I was actually in med school when I took my teacher training. And
Mhm.
I started to realize, like, wow, okay, so yeah, we've got the chakras, and sure, we've got like spinning vortexes, and we've got the colors. And it wasn't until later that I found out like that was actually cultural appropriation in 1970s to add colors to the chakras to sell the programs. But what I started to realize was like everywhere there's a chakra is plexus of nerves that
Mhm.
comes together. And so here we have gurus studying live bodies in the study of life, as opposed to Western people studying dead bodies as a study of life. And these people could see where these energy centers were. That's incredible. So that was really the link for me to go beyond the poses myself and start to
Yeah.
realize, like, oh shit, wait, this is just science before microscopes,
Yeah.
you know, and medical degrees. So that is really when things started to open. It was almost like a program I had now that they already had the answer for, which is written very clearly in the sutras.
That's awesome. I absolutely love hearing how people find the other limbs and like the other aspects of it. It's always such a different story from each person that I get to connect with. And it's probably one of my favorite things about the community is like being able to hear those stories and how you got into your niche and dove a little bit deeper. So that's really cool. I think like for mine, it was definitely the mindfulness aspect of it,
Okay.
like the movement of breath to motion. And I find anytime I step on my mat or I practice the movement, my brain goes silent. Like I'm just able to turn completely off, and it's a meditation, it's a movement meditation for me. And I love that I can solve problems or challenges that I have going on in my life or process emotions that I have that maybe journaling or talking to someone about isn't helping.
Yeah, I love that because, okay, so then on top of it, we just like layer it in. So I know talk therapy is
Mhm.
massively important, I think. I think everyone should always have some type of therapy in their life, whether it's coaching, yoga, whatever that looks like. But what we know now is that talk therapy just isn't enough because
Yeah.
the talk doesn't release the emotion that's stored in our body. So this is where somatics have become such a trend, but also like a really vital trend
Yeah.
because we're storing emotion. And yeah, we can talk and yeah, we can cry a little bit, but how are we going to get that shit out? Shit that you've been storing since you were like 5 years old and you drew a picture and you
I
gave it to your mom and she threw it in the garbage. And then you were like, I suck. And then have been holding that and carrying that and creating a persona around that your entire life.
Yeah.
That's why the somatics are so important. And that's why I think like the movement is such a vital part
Mhm.
as a limb to get into. And the
Yeah.
mindfulness is really a way to like not carry on the dogma, right? The woohoo that I was talking about that I was kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like for a lot of people, the movement is the first thing. And then as you start to learn and progress, like you find that other thing that you're like, for you, the energy centers and all of the nerves and the science behind it, you're like, fuck yeah, that's amazing. I'm into it. I'm sold. Teach me everything now.
Yeah. So then is that kind of like what you focused on? Because I love on your Instagram, I've watched like you shared videos of you like heavier, drunk, and then
Mhm.
like peaceful and in a better place. And then I also, what I really loved, I used you as an example in my mastermind the other day, um, was that I saw you post a video that was about someone that was a bodybuilder that was using
Mhm.
yin as a way to get more flexible for her postures in competition.
Yes.
I was like, this is brilliant. Like
Yes.
what a niche to go. Like, wow.
Yeah, yoga for athletes. I do, I'm a certified instructor, but I have a very high interest in mobility and like physical therapy work. So when I teach a class or work with my clients, I tend to add in mobility movements and make it more dynamic than static in the movement practice. And for her specifically, Noah, she has just seen so much improvement with her rotation for her bikini posing. And because of that, I've actually signed multiple clients working, wanting to improve their posing, and people who are just stiff and like have pain in their body, but they love the gym. And I think there's a really good opportunity for myself, other yoga teachers, because the mobility aspect there's a lot of mobility coaches, but they want you to do hours of mobility usually, right? And a lot of people don't have hours out of their day to dedicate that, or they're very similar to me and like different types of movements. I have burned out with my fitness before. I just went too hard and too fast. And then I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to do anything. And that got me into a deeper hole. If I keep it fun and do different things, then I am more consistent with it. And yoga has always been there because it is fun. It is playful. I feel like it really honors the young Katelyn, who did dance and gymnastics and had so much fun with that. And now I can do yoga and bring that side or that inner part of me out, which is what I feel like the niche is. Athletes need yoga, like they need to move in this way. They're so focused on lifting heavy and pushing all of this weight, but if you want to lift heavy, you want to push that weight, you need to move your body in this way.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I love that. And I mean, I remember I had a teacher that was really into yoga for athletes, and that was a huge part of what she was offering, because we have people that literally just destroy their body from whenever it is, like usually childhood, right?
Yeah.
And then like 30 years old. But what we have found, like I've seen a lot of studies with different like soccer teams that use like
Mhm.
myofascial stretch as a
Yeah.
way to combat that overuse of body. And then what happens is these athletes can actually stay in the game for much longer.
Hmm.
So I love that you're doing that, because it's really, I remember, so we went to Vegas one time. It was my friend Dana and I, and we were both yoga teachers and nurses. And we went to like a 90-minute hot vinyasa class.
Okay.
And we took our friend Dave, who is like a bodybuilder, and he said he never got the yoga thing, and his wife was a little bit puffy. And so he always complained that like she's not really doing anything and yoga people are too puffy. So he comes, and I swear, like 10 minutes in, he is pouring sweat. He's got his shirt off, and he's just like laying there like dead. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm over
Yeah.
there's Dana and I just go in, and yeah, I love that. So I mean, there's so much more. It's like a balance, which I really
Yes.
think yoga is about, is finding that balance. But you and I we've met through a mastermind. Everybody
Mhm.
knows that I'm working with Nick, and this is kind of how we have coordinated. And one of the coaches on there is Kelly. She's like our coach in the group that
Yeah.
we're in, and she talks a lot about how, she started with fitness coaching, and she's got this one rung that people come into through fitness coaching. But then her passion really now is like the personal piece, like the mindset and the going deeper. And I really think that's a way to go deeper with anybody, is to get them into yoga.
Yeah, I agree. The mindset that to your story earlier about your friend and how he was dripping sweat, laying there like, oh my God, no more, no more. It is a mental game. And that is why it has helped me so much in my mental health. Like the resilience that I have built from all of my practices and the different styles, like hot, power, yin, like it's all a challenge, even in the slowest, like yin, where you're in a pose for 10 minutes. Like 3 minutes in, my mind's like, okay, we're done. We don't have to do this one anymore. Like, let's quit it. Let's change to the next one. No, slow the fuck down, stay in your pose, really let yourself release. And that mental game is addicting. I
Right.
do love it. I think that's what keeps me coming back the most, is how hard I can challenge myself, not only physically, but mentally.
I always compare yin to ice baths.
Yeah.
I've got an ice bath. It's right there. And
Mhm.
I take ice baths 3 days a week. And I have found that I mean, I do a lot of talking about the nervous system and how
Mhm.
yin is really supportive of releasing emotion from the nervous system, because you really have to get deep.
Yeah.
It's not just this surface level. But what happens when you get deep is you can bring up some childhood trauma, and now you just got to hold this pose. And also, by the way, don't move, right? Like all you can do is breathe and sit with it. So trauma comes up, there's a nervous system response that happens. It brings us back to fight or flight. And the idea is to recognize you're safe. That the yoga mat sees everything, right? Stay on it, breathe, you're safe, recognizing like the whole world's not going to end just because this emotion is going up. And then it teaches us emotional intelligence of how to, my dog is like doing so many things. I'm like, can you just fucking sit down, please? But we breathe through it and then recognize like maybe that stress isn't so stressful, which is exactly what happens when you sit in an ice bath. Like you could die if you stay there for too long. You can die of hypothermia, but like, hey, I'm just going to breathe and tell myself this is really good for me. And I'm going to bring myself out of fight or flight literally while I'm in the element to almost die. And so I found that like mentally, emotionally, physically, they carry a lot of similarities to like then taking that off the mat. When I found yin, I found that I lost a lot of road rage. Simply by just being uncomfortable and then not wiggling.
Yeah. The finding this stillness and the uncomfortable moments just helps a lot. You're able to process. It's been so freeing, like being able to have those experiences and see how my journey has evolved, like where I was in 2020 and how I looked, how I felt, how I was talking to myself, talking to the people in my life, and then where I am now, and like how emotionally intelligent I am, how connected, and it's awesome. And I feel like it really it goes to yoga and everything in it, the lessons, the movement, the mental resilience.
So when you say like how you were talking to yourself, because this is one thing that I focus on like crazy with coaching, is like if you don't change, so it's called the default mode network. Have you heard that expression for the voice inside your head?
I have not actually.
Okay. So it's the default mode network, and it's the voice that's talking to you all the time. That's not you, right? It's a part of your nervous system. And we as a society are consistently in a space of fight or flight, right? Because there's a lot going on in the background. And so what happens when you're in fight or flight is like, I'm going to die. I need to save the host or the body. So the default mode network is always looking for like the negative in the situation so you don't die. So if we're in a financial system where the saber-tooth tiger is just sitting on your shoulder all the time, like you're going to die, you're going to die, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. No wonder the default mode network won't talk nicely to you.
Yeah.
So how do we switch that? Well, the only way that we switch that is to regulate our nervous system and come out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. And then the default mode network stops, and then we can connect with like more of who we truly are.
Yeah.
But the big key fact is to get out of fight or flight. So when you were in 2020, what were you saying to yourself and how were you behaving? And then now, what do you say to yourself? Like, what's that constant voice saying?
Yeah. Great question. So in 2020, a lot of life changes happened, right? We had COVID, we were in isolation, we were locked down. My husband moved down to South Florida while I was still living in a different part of the state. He got a new job, so we lived separate for about 6 months. I had to move back in with my parents, which no one ever really wants to do, but sometimes you have to. So I did that while he moved down here. So we were separate for a period of time. We moved down to South Florida, and honestly, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of South Florida. I don't want to be here forever. It's cool now. I made some friends. We got his family, but not a fan. And when we moved down, everything was locked down. So I couldn't even go out and like meet people or try to socialize. Like it was just me in this new place trying to figure it out. I had a new job, which I didn't really like, but my other one, laid me off and I had to find something. So I got rolling with that, and snowball effect of things that just led me to a dark path of trying to process my emotions with alcohol. And it did not go well. I was drinking every day, not working out. I stopped going to the gym. I was just like, well, I'm tired all the time. I don't want to move my body. I don't want to do anything. I still did yoga, a daily practice for me at that point in time. I just really pulled back and kind of isolated myself when the world was isolated. Not the best decision looking back. So my thoughts during that time were, I hate my job. I'm having a hard time finding another job because nobody was hiring during that time. And so I was working a job that I didn't like. And I was like, had all these other interviews to try to find a new position. And people weren't getting back to me. They were telling me no right away. And I was like, well, I'm obviously not good at what I do. I'm not deserving for a new position, something that I feel really called to do. Nobody wants me. So I started treating myself like that nobody wanted me. I wasn't worthy. And as we kind of continued, my husband and I were able to buy a house. House turned out to be full of mold, complete mold. So we had to remodel half of our house, get a brand new roof, and we just took like a huge financial hit. And we had to really budget and save. And I had a scarcity mindset during all of that. I was like, we have so much money going towards the house and being able to live in a place that I can't afford a gym membership. I can't go to a yoga studio. And so again, I dove deeper into those bottles and those drinks and tried to process everything and how sad and angry I felt with drinking. And then I also started to do that with food. My family historically has been emotional eaters. I learned that from my parents. It's carried with me through a lot of my life. Had a eating disorder through binging, and it just got really, really bad. And while I had that scarcity mindset, I was eating everything in sight, or I starved myself for the day just to eat everything in sight later on. And my body completely changed. My mind was in the shitter. And what changed it for me was, and I will bless this man to the day that he dies and beyond. I went to my annual gynecologist appointment, and this doctor is one of my favorites. He's so nice, so kind. And funniest thing, he was like, please do not hit me or hate me for saying this. He's like, but I want you to know because I like you. You're a good woman. Like, you have gained 30 pounds in a year. And he was like, I want to tell you that because I want you to take your health seriously, and I want you to better yourself and be there for your family and not have any issues, because my family also historically has been overweight. So he knows all of my history and all that. Anyway, he told me that, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize. Like, you look at yourself every day, so it's hard for you to notice the changes. And I'm not the type of person that regularly weighs myself. So I didn't really know. I was feeling like shit, but I wasn't truly paying attention. And so I appreciated that call out. I really did. And, it's like, don't hate me, don't hit me. And I was like, no, like, I actually appreciate you. And so a couple weeks after that, I was like, enough's enough. Like, I'm tired of feeling like shit. I'm tired of treating myself like shit. If I continue to do this, it's never going to get better. And so grabbed the reins to my life and said, the only way that something is going to change is if I change it. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. And so I made the choice to better myself. I cut back on the drinking. immensely. I still enjoy a glass of red wine every now and again to this day, but I don't drink hard liquor anymore. I hired a fitness coach to help me with my nutrition because I didn't have the accountability or the trust in myself to do it myself. And I told her that I was like, I need the accountability. I need the person there to help me. And I've been with her for a year, and I had my most recent gynecologist appointment this year. And I went back to him, to this doctor, and he read through my file and he was like, I am so proud of you. He was like, you took off all the weight that you had put on. I'm so proud. I am so happy for you. He's like, you look great, but that doesn't fucking matter. How do you feel? And I feel great. Like I accomplished all of that because I made the choice to stop self-sabotaging myself and stop feeling sorry for myself and the challenges and conditions that were brought in my life, and just say, those are completely out of my control. This is what I can control, and this is how I'm going to fix it. And so now my mindset is just that, right? Like I have control over me, how I talk to myself, how I treat my body, how I honor my body. And my body has been through so much, and it does so much for me, that I should treat it like the temple it is.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Our coach is quite like controversial, and he speaks a lot of the body positivity movement.
Mm-hmm.
And what I appreciate, like I'm age friendly, body friendly, queer friendly, so my focus is really like inclusive space. And what I know going through my weight journey of up and down and all over the place is that when I'm unhappy, it shows in me layering
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like, fat and skin between me and the world. And
Yeah.
so I love to have an inclusive space where people can come and feel safe. And my opinion is that when I'm overweight, it's usually because I'm unhappy. And I
Mm-hmm.
also believe no matter what I do on the outside, if I don't fix the inside, then,
Yes.
it could be either way, because so my sister and I are very different. I'm a big girl. She's not. She's
Mm-hmm.
into the gym, very athletic, very sporty. And I'm not as much. I would say I like to run. That's my thing.
Yeah.
So when I go down and I visit her, I'm usually surrounded by very like muscly people. And the last time I was there, we were at a party. It was all the gym people. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the girls came in and she was on a cut and she was getting ready for a bikini contest or competition. And so she was like, just don't talk to me. Like, don't look at me the wrong way. I haven't had a car in like 8 days or whatever was going on. And we all got into this big conversation about body dysmorphia because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she started talking like a judgmental thing about someone that was overweight. And then I thought, but like, what's the difference? Like, here you are, people can't even say the wrong thing to you because you are so dysmorphic about your body. Because she said yeah,
Yeah.
still didn't feel like that she was enough. Like she still needed
Yeah.
to go further and she wanted to rip everybody's heads off. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what's the difference between you like doing that, which is pretty extreme, or
Mm-hmm.
someone that's like really unhealthy and, sees themselves in a dysmorphic way as well, to the other extreme? What I
Yeah.
see is two really unhappy people because she was also getting a divorce. Okay. She was also getting a divorce. She was getting a lot of attention at the gym with the new body that she was creating.
Of
Like
course.
I could see a lot of like inner turmoil coming out. It
Yeah.
was just a different focus. So I love what Nick says. I also want people to feel comfortable because I think once you can accept yourself as you are,
Mm-hmm.
is really where you can move from a place of like, okay, my outer body doesn't actually define me,
Yeah.
right? But like, so I can just be here and I can work inside to start fixing. And for me, when I started working inside is when I connected to my body. And when I connected to my body is when I realized like, oh shit, I'm so disconnected that I can't even eat without overeating because the only thing
Yeah.
I feel is when I'm so full. But
Yep.
now that I'm connected, I can feel when I'm done eating. So like the habits just shifted by me having a little bit of self-acceptance. And so
Yes.
that's really like what I see you doing, but like on the other side of things,
Mhm.
right? Getting some acceptance, like you're muscly bound, like getting to the competition. Awesome. I also think like I've ran a marathon and not a lot of people run a marathon. What's that all about? Right. But on the other end of things is like finding this place of like, you are good enough just as you are. And I really feel like yoga kind of pushes that naturally, like almost
Yes.
organically, right?
Yes, I completely agree. And I think that's when my doctor told me that. I think that's what helped is I had that connection to my body, and I was like, I sat with it. I practiced and I moved with it. I meditated with it. And it was almost like, okay, Kate, you brought yourself here. Like you made all of those decisions and those choices to get yourself to this spot. And now you're unhappy. You're treating yourself like shit. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to change? What actions are we going to take to do that? And I loved something that you said about how you connect and you can now realize like when you're actually full. You're not just eating until you feel like you're going to bust anymore. And it's so true. Like thinking back to a few years ago, like I would just eat and eat and eat. And I wouldn't stop until I felt sick because I was so disconnected and I wasn't mentally aware, emotionally aware of what was going on in my body. And now, I mean, like I still eat good. I enjoy my food. And I had like all these great meals for my birthday over the weekend. And it's so cool to see and have the perspective change of like being able to eat well and choosing foods that nourish you, but also being able to indulge a little bit and have fun and eat a piece of birthday cake, but know that it's not going to ruin whatever my long-term goals are. Like it's just a drop in the bigger bucket of water.
And you don't have to eat the whole fucking cake.
Right, right. A slice is fine. I'm good with a slice.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. So for you, what would you say, like, what happened to you with mindfulness that I'm being confusing. I was just on my mastermind call and I was saying to everybody, like, you're your own greatest success story. Because
Mhm.
why would it be that you found yoga and now you're going to spend your life dedicated to sharing this practice with somebody else?
Yeah.
It's not like I think you've ever seen like a bunch of yoga teachers that are just like living the life. You might have seen it. It's usually bullshit because most of them are broke and like trading and doing whatever and like so and living kind of broke ass lives, but not everybody, and there's an opportunity to do it differently. But there's something beyond just making money and living this like
Yeah.
gratuitous lifestyle as a yoga teacher. So you as your own success story, what really is like the mindful tool that you can share? And then I also want you to like tell people how they can work with you as well if you have some kind of an offer. um, make that part of your answer as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So my goal is to have people find that connection that I have made with myself, mental and physical. There's a lot of individuals, athletes or not, that are just very disconnected and they can't pick up on those subtle cues like hunger or when they're mentally spent or socially spent and they just continue to push themselves and run themselves into the ground essentially. So I want to be able to show people that the movement of yoga is how you can get started, how you can connect with yourself physically, the breath, the movement, the stretching. But there's so much more. Through the movement, you find stillness of your mind, stillness of your emotions, that problem solving that I talked about earlier. So that's my ultimate goal, is to show people that it's more than just movement and help them cultivate that mindset of I am worthy, I am capable, I want to move my body in a fun, balanced way. I don't want to have the mindset of all or nothing. I think movement should be fun, and yoga is fun because of that. Mobility is fun because of that. And so people can work with me through virtual classes. I do usually one live class a week, donation based for anybody who wants to join, comfort of your own home, meditation, different styles of yoga. And then my core offering is mobility programs. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of mobility coaches want you to dedicate an hour or so and like make it your sole focus of movement, but it shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to give up other joys and other movements that you like to have a more mobile body, have less pain. Like with yoga, you don't need 60 minutes to practice every day. You can spend 5 minutes doing it, 10 minutes, whatever you have available is what you can use. Same thing with mobility. If the intention and alignment is behind it, you can be efficient with your time. And the mobility programs are custom. It could be like rehab work before you lift or post lift for more recovery and stretching. It's a lot of dynamic and static movements, but I take my knowledge from my yoga teaching and work that into their focus on problem areas and just give you another tool in your toolbox to be successful and it not require 3 hours of your day to move.
I love this. Thank you. So what I heard is like for you, and that makes so much sense. Like even the insight that I had of like connecting to my body is from a moment of stillness, mindfulness being about being aware of my body and the sensations within my body. And then what I heard you say was also like that stillness that comes, which is where the insight comes from. Is from like not doing, avoiding, being busy, but really like being with my body and having that insight came from a moment of mindfulness. So
yeah, you have to sit with it.
Yeah, for sure. And you can still do that in movement.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. And that you're very mindful of, how you do anything is how you do everything. I say that all the time. And therefore, like what you do on the mat, you do off the mat. So how you come at your practice is really how you come at everything that you do in your life. And so for any of Merity's gym friends, Rooted in Harmony Yoga on Instagram, the mobility programs, because I remember Nick saying one of the things that went viral one time was he was talking about like, are your traps ever so big that when you move your neck, all of both your shoulders? And so not a problem that I have, but like that makes so much sense. Like that's got to be terribly uncomfortable to just be so bulky and so tight that you can't even bend over and tie your own shoes. Like sure you look good, but you can't do anything. You can't even wipe your own butt. That must be annoying.
I agree. Your everyday movements like shouldn't be a struggle. It shouldn't be painful for you. And I feel like for athletes, especially, that mind-body connection is just going to help in the gym. Like you'll be able to have better time under tension and intention behind your movements, right? Like you never want to, same with yoga. I mean, we go fast at some points, but you don't rush through the movements. You are paced at some point in time, whether it's with your breath or timing of it, like, there's intention behind it, whether you're moving fast or slow, but we never rush.
Yeah. I love that. I had like a slogan that was like, if you want to wipe your butt, work with Katelyn.
I have to talk on my story today. I haven't done it yet for Nick. And there's actually a point that I'm making of like, if you want to be a badass and carry all of your groceries into your kitchen in one shot with no pain and your elbows or your arms don't fall off, mobility.
I love that. Yeah. That's so important. And it's also like, that's one thing that I've noticed that carries on through life is yogis are old and
Mhm.
still able to sit on the floor cross-legged
Yes.
and get up. I always talk about malasana or yogi squat because
Mhm.
the medical knowledge, right? So in India, Southeast Asia, lots of places over there, that squat is a way that they go to the bathroom, that they cook, that people, okay, that people will like sit at the bus stop for. So when people are in yogi squat, which a lot of people even in their 30s can't do for longer than a minute, not only does it help with our digestive system and our elimination and preventing hemorrhoids, but it also is really in Southeast Asia, hip replacements aren't as much of a thing as they are in North America and Europe. So, I mean, it's really funny. I'll do squat, I'll go down and then I'll stand up and then I'll come back down and say, like, how many people do you know that are 20 that can do that? Yeah, lots. How many people that are 30 can do that? How many people that are 40? It's like,
Maybe
no. And then,
5.
yeah. And then beyond that, it's like absolutely not happening. And I can tell you one thing is that I don't want that when I'm older. I want to
Yes.
be able to like sit on the floor. I want to be able to like get on a motorcycle. I want to be able to do all the things when I'm 90 years old that I can
Yes.
do right now. So mobility is like quality of life, actually.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. You want to live, move, and breathe
Yeah.
freely. And mobility and yoga help with that. It really does. It's so cool to see like now that I'm back in the gym and I found like a sustainable approach to weightlifting, how the partnership or marriage of yoga, mobility, and weightlifting just propel each other. Like my range of motion with weightlifting is fantastic. I send feedback videos to my coach and she was like, your form is really great for a lot of my hip hinge movements that a lot of people struggle with. But also since I started weightlifting, the arm balances and inversions that I can now do that I wasn't able to previously, amazing. I like freak out, do backflip every time it happens. I unlock a new pose. So sick. I love it. It's really cool to see how they work together.
Right. At that gym party that we were at, I naturally was the biggest girl there, person there, really fluffiest, and still the only one that could do crow to tripod to legs in the air to then bring the legs, toes to touch the ground, bring them back up, and then get back into crow.
Yeah.
Nobody else could even do a headstand. And so I think like when we were comparing, and then I helped one of the big buffy dudes do it, it was really fun. That I mean, there's more to life than just like having six-pack abs, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
love that. That feels like a pretty good place to end. How does that feel? Anything else that you want to share or?
No, I agree. That was awesome. And just another thank you. This was really lovely. A
Yeah.
great way to spend my Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit. Again, we've got Katelyn from Rooted in Harmony Yoga. Please feel free to follow her on Instagram and reach out. She's got mobility packages, which sounds amazing for half the audience, which are very like not yogis. And sometimes I think that when I'm offering yoga, people sometimes just want to die because when I'm offering, I'm quite slow with my
Mhm.
practices. And sometimes I know that like boot camp and, that kind of like fast pace is more what people are looking for when they come to me.
Yeah.
And I just don't offer much of that.
Yeah.
So go to Katelyn.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people look for that though because of the society that we live in. Like
Oh
everything
yeah,
is hustle and bustle. I have to do this, I have to go there, I don't have enough time, blah, 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 blah. But when in reality, you are exactly what they need to slow down.
I know. I say it all the time. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming, Katelyn.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
For sure. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. Two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colynn and Nerdy Lockoff, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always. Oh.